Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I wanted to show you some things that maybe when we like share this video, this will.
Okay, let's go ahead and start this off. Hey, my peeps! It is Goose Man, and Richard wants to show me something.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff that it adds to the game that doesn't necessarily require you make new maps that could make the game more interesting. I just had some things I wanted to show people, uh, and there's some like IT, not IT help, but like some tech help that I could use for like changing the files that are already there.
Okay. Oh, so you want to post it out to the community and hopes that they can answer your questions, kind of thing.
Yeah, and also show you just uh like what could be really cool.
Hmm.
There we go. I'm sharing. So, um, the first thing, I don't know how many people are even aware of this, but in the once you get into your Panzer Corps directory, you can see all these files, like the data files for the
Uh-huh.
non DLC folder. I made some copies of things in case you're wondering what's going on. So if you open something like awards, let me open that. It's going to be in a text format. This one's easy to work with. You can change these numbers. Can you see my
So
screen?
you get the awards quicker.
Or make it harder.
Yeah.
I just want to point out some things I don't know if people are aware of, but you can make adjustments to this. This is for the basic campaign, and I think there's Soviet award system here, down here.
Uh-huh.
This is not the grand campaign. I think they have a different award system. But my point is, you could change these numbers. Like you could change the number of kills. So I don't like working with the files like this because it's unaligned. You see, because you can see it's hard to tell sometimes where a number is in the right column because
Uh-huh.
this is like a weirdly tabbed eliminated file, uh, but it's not aligned appropriately, so you can't tell that. But it goes name, image, nation, unit, class, kills, slot, and that's what this data is. And the image is all the
Okay.
PNG files. And there's certain format up here that probably, I don't know what's going on in the backend code, but this probably tells the program to pull from this file when it sees these kinds of headers. But that's not my point. I wouldn't mess with that stuff. But if you wanted to change these values, you could. It's easy to see on this example because it's not like a mess. Um, but let's take a look at the campaign. This is your basic campaign up here, I think.
Okay.
Or, oh, this is a tutorial campaign. But anyway, this is in the basic. This is not the grand campaign. This is all the campaign stuff. So this
The
is
vanilla
really,
campaign.
yeah, this is like really annoying, right? Like it's really difficult to see if you wanted to change something, what you need to do. So what you can do is I copied these files because I don't want to permanently change them because you would break them. And then you can change, like if you want to look at the campaign, you just rename it so it ends in CSV, which is comma separated value, so you can open it with Excel. And I think that file looks like this. Oh, you can't see it. Hang on. It looks like this. It's the same file, but now it's in a like
A
spreadsheet.
more aligned
So like
format.
so you now understand what every single value is associated,
Correct.
and you can edit this. So I don't. I think this must be like tutorial stuff up here, but let's. Uh, oh, here's a tutorial. You could change the tutorial, so you can change things like starting
No, I'll
procedure.
tell you. I'll tell you what those are. That up at the top.
Yeah, what is
Those
that?
are the start of the campaign. That's okay. So the top one is 19. Is the tutorial. Then
Yeah.
it's below that is the 1939. Then below that is 1941. And then below that is 1943 East. That's
Oh,
1943 West. That's Africa Corps. That's the next
Okay.
one is Allied Corps. Yeah,
Okay.
and then the last one is the Soviet Corps starting campaign.
Yeah. So just be clear, we're just looking at the base folder of campaigns, not the grand campaign, but it's similar structure. You could change all this. You could change. Here's where I had this idea. You can change starting prestige. Oh, here we go. So you have label, briefing, scenario, next label, prestige, next label. Actually, this is a little different. You can change what you reference at the end of a scenario. Is my
What do
point.
you mean? What you reference?
Let me show you an example. I think I did it. Uh, did I do it? So this is from the 1939 folder, the campaign. You can change the briefing to pull from Danzig. Uh, yeah, so like you could change this. So what happens? It branches, right?
Mm.
So it opens with this. This is a briefing that exists in the folder. Let me show you. So it's in the DLC folder, and if you go into 39 and data, there is a briefing for Poznan. And I think it's this one. This is text that you're going to see. Oh, no. Yeah, briefing. Where's the briefing? Poznan. Oh, there's a folder called briefings. And in here, you'll find all of the different types of briefings for every scenario. So you see
Oh,
Poznan A is probably the start, Poznan B decisive, Poznan C marginal, Poznan D loss. Um, those are fine as they are, but the point is you reference this. If we go back to this Excel file, this is what you're referencing to start the next campaign. And all you would have to do to change the briefing is just change the reference. So let's say
if
so what happens is you have the scenario. This is the map file that we're used to looking at. Uh, the PZSEN must be unique to Panzer Corps. I think it stands for Panzer Corps Scenario, and PZBRF is Panzer Corps Brief. So this is the scenario. This is what's crazy. You can take those maps and just relabel this. So let's say you get a decisive victory. See how what I did here? I changed. You know how a decisive victory in Poznan, you go to Danzig South?
yes.
Change it. You can change it to Danzig North, and then all you had to do is change the briefing. Here, change the briefing, and
Uh-huh.
then the next label, you can change to the North. And so you go to Danzig North, and then you change the briefing here, and you pull the file in column C. Do you see how it's not south? It's north.
Uh-huh.
And it worked, by the way. I actually set it up. So this, you don't see it here, but I tested this. And I lost Poznan, and it sent me to north. You just have to change the end label or the loss label from end to uh, Poznan North.
Okay, so then let me ask you this: can you set it up to go to a different campaign? This because didn't you talk about doing that?
Well, yeah, this is something
You,
I
I
wanted
know
to get
going from
into.
night.
But before I do that, the problem I have is to make that happen, I had to edit it in its original format. Uh, so the campaign, this, let me open it up. It looks like this.
Oh my.
Now,
Oh
the
my.
way I did it is I changed. I was able to figure out I had to change this to north, uh, and then I had to change. I changed the loss briefing, and then I changed Danzig Quarter South to north, and then I stuck in the path to the briefing, and then I stuck in the path to the scenario. The problem here is I did that once and it was really annoying, right? So if you wanted to rebuild the campaigns, you'd have to you want to do that in an Excel file. But I can't seem to get it to save. Like if I want to save this, I have to save it in a UTF format that I don't think I have. Uh, I think I saw something online about the files have to be saved like a UTF-16 or UTF-32. I don't know how to do that. That's one of the questions I have. How do I save these files after editing so that when I put them back into the relevant folders, it is read correctly? Because I think when I did it, it wasn't formatted like that. Like when I
I
tried to
would
take
post
the
these
Excel,
kinds of
when I tried to
questions
take
on the. I'm sorry. I
so I
would
tried
post
to
these
take
kinds of questions.
yeah, so that's why I wanted to share this. If there is a way that you know that's to take this and save it so it doesn't look ugly, I think there's some sort of UTF code, but I don't know how to find what program do I need to save it back into that correct code. What will happen if I take this and try to save it as a UTF and stick it back in? It doesn't look like this. It looks like slashes everywhere. I might have
That totally changes the code.
yeah, it's clearly different. I might have it in here. Um, can't you see how I have campaign UTF-16? Let's see what it'll end up looking like this. Uh, like this was my attempt to try to save it back, but that clearly does not look like this. And I think it matters. I think there's like fixed width tabbed elimination and something else is going on with the file that I don't understand. This is above my pay grade. But if someone knows how do you take the Excel file and this is easy to edit, right? Like,
Why wouldn't you ask this question on the mod forum, the forum
oh,
mod page?
I don't know. I
Because I mean, there's people that have created whole different campaigns based on the vanilla campaign and stuff like that. They could probably help you out with this.
yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. But anyway, so we could make something quite unique. So what I was thinking is, let me show this screen. So what I did just for fun is I grabbed the scenarios from Grand Campaign West and Grand Campaign East and Africa Corps. And I have a column, I have the scenario name and I have the date. And then I was asking myself, does the briefing have to change and so on? But you can see I have them all listed here. There's probably some issues with the end of 44 West. I don't quite understand what's happening there. I don't know if we need all these, but the point is, we
Well,
could
yeah,
make
I can explain those if you want me to.
it's not important.
With okay.
It's not important. That can be fixed later. But my point is, we can take all of these files and stick them in a folder, and take the briefings and take the scenario with it, right? And you could put them
Mm-hmm.
in chronological order, like this. This is chronological order. And you know how you were talking about, well, what do we do after ultimate mode? Because, like, ultimate mode's fun and all, but it's also kind of ridiculous. So one of the
Yeah.
ideas was like, okay, we could remove um, SE units. So let me actually explain to you, like, just the sheer potential of what we could do without having to do a crazy amount of work if we set this up, or we set up the campaign path. So one thing we could do is remove SE slots as an option, and we could remove. We can clean up the map so there's no capturable units. There's no. We could even change the auxiliary units. We could have fewer or more. I was thinking like if you were to start a new campaign that was super grand, you saw there's like 173 scenarios because I really
Good.
like them. I like the maps. I just think that when they're disjointed, it takes away. Uh, but if we go to scenario parameters here, you can change how many days you have. So some maps
Mm-hmm.
we might want to make adjustments. Uh, you can change core slots. So like on Poznan, what I would recommend is we remove the auxiliary units and have them as core slots and change the core slots from 14 to 16 and remove hero units from maps. And so you would just have to clean up some scripts. I think you get rewarded, not in this map, but on Poznan you get Rudel. You could remove that script, remove the unit from the map, and it's like he's never there. So you could change this. Look at this. You can have this. This is SE units right here. You can change this number to 0 for every map. You can change max over strength. You can change max experience. I would recommend that we keep it at 599 for the whole scenario, for the whole campaign, from like Poznan on. And then you can change the starting unit experience. One thing I think that would be interesting is have this be dynamic over time. So I sometimes feel like
What is this?
the unit experience is a little weird. Like, why are there 1-star units in 1940? Because those units are not experienced that the Germans were fighting.
Well, but
They had very few combat
to
troops.
make it harder.
Yeah, but I think that with like ultimate mode conditions, you don't need it. But also later, I feel like the unit should have more experience. Sometimes like the experience is a little low, so you can change that here. Um, and you can change the core slots, and you can change things like prestige per turn. So one of the things I was thinking about is if there's no hero units and there's no SE units and there's no sellable or capturable units, prestige might be more of a problem. So we could even change victory. It's not in here, but that would be in the campaign path. We could change, not that one. We can change the reward. This tells you the reward of prestige. We could make this higher or lower based on the scenario. We could, if we don't even like that policy, we could change the prestige you accumulate per turn in every scenario and make that dynamic based on the scenario. Because I think that if we were to try something like this where we remove SE units and hero units and auxiliary units, we're going to have to make some changes on prestige.
I just think if you change the core game too much from what it is, then people don't understand what you're playing. I mean, if you're playing a mod, then you can point them to the mod. But if you're pointing them to the say the Grand Campaign or the Vanilla Campaign or the Africa Corps campaign, and you've adjusted the parameters, they're not gonna realize this isn't really the game.
Obviously, you would have to put together a file explaining all the changes. So I had a lot of ideas about that, like deductors. We have deductors equipment file, for instance. We have the games equipment file. I think this is deductors, and oh, you can't see that. So you could do. I think the easiest path is to just. Why is this? So the easiest path is just make individual changes. This is deductors changes, but you could just
Oh my.
you could just change individual elements. Not every. I don't think his changes work with the latest edition of Panzer Corps. He's made units too expensive, but I think he should. Like we should change the value of units. We should change some of these stats. Also, you can affect. I don't know if you've ever looked at this, but you can affect when they're available. So one of the major changes he did is he changed when units were available, and I think a lot of those make sense. But you can
like the crashes and
yeah, he made them available earlier, and he made certain anti-tank weapons available earlier and some later. But my point is, we could edit this, but we could do it in their original equipment file. There's some major differences, like he only has 1,520 rows, and in the base file there's 1,540. So there's some small change, but we could just. I don't think we need to use these values necessarily, but there's things.
Where is the crowd shoots in 40 or the 39 or whatever? I don't see any other crowd shoots in except 43.
Oh, he probably deleted it for 43. If I were to open up, I could probably open that up. Like 1940, I think is when it becomes available. Where is the Croucherton? Oh, here it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's right here. It's worth 359. So yeah, he has a crouch. He deletes it. I think the problem with using deductors file is older units disappear because they weren't available. I guess from his perspective. But yeah, we could manually. We would have to make some changes. I think a lot of these changes are good. I think there should be a bigger difference between regular infantry and mountain units. Like, there's a lot. I've already gone over in detail about how awesome this is, but imagine if we could change these values, right? So what I was
Yeah, again,
thinking,
I don't want to mod. Modding is too crazy for me. I get
yeah, that's not
nervous
the
messing
thing
with
is,
stuff.
obviously it would be like we would be giving them. I don't know how that works exactly, but you wouldn't have to do it. It was just be like we're at some point making something like this that would be more epic.
Mm.
Like, imagine how much more interesting East would be if West and Africa Corps were jammed into it, and you had more diverse unit cost with more diverse statistics, uh, different availability dates that are a little more realistic. And then if we go back to the editor, we can change how the prestige is accumulated on every map. Script There are some script flaws. Like, I think one of the curse maps, there's a zone that doesn't show up, but it's where units are parked and they're supposed to activate. Like, there's things like that where we can just go in and add zones where they should have been, and you can change like the
Mm.
weather conditions to be more realistic. Like, I think rain should be way less frequent in 39 and 40 because the impact rain had in the west is very different than it than in the east. So we should just reduce the probability, but make it more cloudy, let's say. Something like that.
Yeah, I've
But
started 44 in the east and the west.
my point is, that would be cool because because think about how epic that would be. So we have all these scenarios. We got like 172 scenarios. And this could be more flexible too. If for some reason people like Sea Lion, this is the difference by year. If you add Sea Lion, you can see there's like 14 more scenarios and 41. And there's, or no, yeah,
Oh,
there's,
adding sea lion from the
yeah, this is how many.
yeah, but that
This,
campaign that goes into I think 43.
yeah,
So that would get a little weird.
no, it goes into 42. There's just one scenario. So there's 11 in this current situation. There's 11 scenarios and 39, 17, and 40. And you can see that as the war goes on, the number of battles increases, which is historical. Like, that's kind of cool when you think about it. Like, but I would like to jam it into one giant scenario so you're not interrupted. And you don't have to worry about reloading for SE units because you could set it to 0. But this is kind of cool if you think about it. Like, it's just this one giant list with infinite flexibility where maybe you make another version where you're like, we want to add Sea Lion. Or maybe you make another version where you add like the US scenarios at the end. Because it goes all the way to Sea Lion 45.
Uh-huh. But the vanilla campaign has you attacking the US West East.
So you
Yeah,
could
but
do
that would get
that.
weird if you're trying to import that,
You could do that. So
from the grand campaign to
so actually,
vanilla campaign.
just for fun, it took a while, but did I put that in here? Ah, it's right here. So you see this folder? This was me taking all of those scenarios with the scenarios, the location, Panzer Corps, whatever LLC is, data, all of that, right? I took all of that and I
Mm.
jammed it in here, so it's all easily referenceable. And then I took the briefings, and there's a lot of briefings. That's all. These are all the briefings from Grand Campaign West,
Yikes.
Grand Campaign East, and Africa Corps. You would obviously have to change the briefings, but but this would be kind of cool, right? But even if you didn't think this was if you didn't think this was cool, I don't know if people are aware just how much you can do in the scenario editor. Like this is the weather. You can change those probabilities. You can change corps slots. You can change prestige per turn. You can change your starting prestige. I would start you at Poznan with 0. Um, you can change the
Then
unit.
how would you buy?
Well,
You would.
I would give you 16 corps slots at Poznan, so you'd have a more realistic corps. But
You
then
would start out with 16. You couldn't make any purchases.
Not on the first scenario. So I'd give you 16 units. There'd be
See,
no.
I wouldn't like that.
What?
I wouldn't like that personally. I like starting off a campaign, and your campaign is different from other people's campaigns because you buy different stuff at the beginning.
Ah, well, yeah, that's true. So you could change if you didn't like that. You could just go into the scenario editor and do it yourself. That's actually easier
Right.
than everything I was talking about. So if we go into Poznan, so what I was thinking is we make the bomber a corps slot unit and the Panzer II a corps slot unit, and then add 3 artillery pieces. It's like 2 7.5 and 2 10 centimeters. And then I think you're good because I don't think you need any. Oh, one more infantry probably like a pioneer, and then there would be no SE units, and you can change this stuff. Like this is Rudel, right? So I think I can just right click and he's gone.
Yeah.
And then I can go into the scenario and boom, it's done. If you don't want to deal with Rudel, you can just delete them from the map, delete any triggers in the scenario parameters, and you can change the position of the unit.
What are those red? What are those red indicators? Those are all the. You don't have to capture all those.
I guess
to get a decisive.
Those are airfields. I don't know why they're red.
They're all airfields, and the scenario parameters say that you do have to capture all airfields, but technically you don't. You don't have to capture that middle one.
Decisive victory. Number of Axis flags and primary objectives is equal to 5. And this is why, because number of Axis flags and secondary objectives is more than 2. I think that's how they distinguish primary from secondary objectives. So you need to have 3 airfields and all of the yellow hexes to get a decisive.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for helping me understand that.
So yeah, you can go in and change that. You can edit these conditions. See that? You get
yeah.
So like there's a lot of flexibility. Like I don't know if people are aware. You can change campaign branch. Does that reference? I don't see how does that work? Maybe this has to change too. Oh, I bet 0 is marginal victory. Oh no, 0 is decisive victory, 1 is marginal. That's right. If you go look at the file, what comes first? It goes briefing, scenario, briefing. Yeah, there's 3 briefings. Yeah, so it knows there's some way it's indexed. So the first briefing is known as this decisive. If you see an index of 1, it somehow knows to go to the next group, and that would be the marginal. That's what this is. And I don't know what the score is, but you can edit all of this. You can even, you know how it gets annoying, you can only use 2 trains? You could change that. And I think you can add stuff like this if you wanted.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be any need because there's no Fallschirmjäger.
Yeah.
In 39.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm curious. Does that change if I go into 1940? Oops, not what I wanted. Does that do they change that? Yeah, there it is. They give you 4. You can change that number too. They give you 4 paratrooper slots. That's kind of cool.
I wonder why they give Great Britain trains when they never use them.
They're probably borrowing from France, right? because France had
No,
training.
no, I mean like in the game, the
Oh,
game never, the AI never chooses to put a unit in a
I'm
train.
assuming that that's difficult to program. What else?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the other
I
thing
think
is
Maguba's done a great job at randomizing the AI a little more in his Battlefield Europe. You can still trick it, but it's not near as easy to trick it as it is
did he have to
in
make his
this
own?
game.
Did he have to? I don't see where the AI programming is in the data. Is that some file he made himself, or did he build off of
Again,
something?
again, I would ask him how these kinds of questions on his Battlefield Europe mod.
So in the
How did he mess with
so
the
in the scenario
AI?
editor, one important point is if you want to mess with units, you have to be under units. If you want to mess with zones, which is very important, you need to be in the zone. So you can set triggers for you can set all kinds of unique triggers if you're in like a proximity mine that activates them. So people can mess with that, and you can make your own maps. That's what the rest of all of this is for. But I don't think it's necessary because I personally really like the maps in Grand Campaign and in Africa Corps. So like I don't feel a need to change them that much. So the other thing
Oh, you remember
is,
the last time you just real quick? You remember the last time we had a conversation about the active um,
oh
the parameter was set for the unit.
yes, yes,
Um,
thank you for reminding me.
what is it?
It's under
What is
units.
it? Active hold.
Yeah. This is very important. You see you
Hold position active.
shift left click on a unit you're interested in exploring, and this is something I wanted to bring up as well. We should change the AI behavior for some of the units. Think about like I'm just beginning to talk about how amazing you could make a new mod because I like the old maps, but imagine if units behave more sensibly. So if you're in a major hex or you're in a fortification hex, I don't think it makes sense that you're active. I think you should be hold position passive. But other units that are not in a zone
If
should
you're hold
probably
position passive, then
it
you'll never attack,
yeah, but
even if you
the
even if it's
problem
to your advantage.
is oh wait, there's hold position fire. Oh, that's what we need, I think. That doesn't. Okay, so I think so. You know the problem with hold position active is that they come out, which doesn't make any sense. Like if they're in a fortification hex or they're in a major hex, I don't think they should be hold position active. However,
Oh, cool! Random patrol. That's cool.
so what I'm wondering is if hold position fire makes more sense instead of hold position passive. So they're not going to come out, but if you get next to them, they will attack you.
But can you imagine? Here, just let's talk about this. See that random
Yeah,
patrol?
I never
If you
seen.
set like a yeah, no. If you set
Oh
like
my
a
god!
recon,
Yes, you're right.
if you set if you set a recon um, unit on a random patrol around an area, and then set some hold position active units near it, so that if it spots something, it comes into near that zone, it's going to get attacked.
So
But
yeah.
I was going to just tell you this real quick.
Oh,
When we were looking at it before, I was saying to you that I thought the units would go and try to go into a area that they see, but they don't see if units are in them when they're hold position active. That is not the case. They do not move unless they see a vulnerable unit.
yes, yes,
They
that
don't.
makes
They
sense.
won't try to automatically go into a hex that they perceive as empty.
That's actually an interesting idea I never thought about. This is especially useful, I would say, for cavalry, for uh,
Recons and
any recon type of unit. They probably should be like this, right?
cavalry wouldn't work as well because they would in the order of battle or whatever.
Oh,
Recons go first,
yeah. I don't know. I
and
haven't seen.
tanks go
I have not seen
tanks
this.
go before the uh, tanks go before the
Yeah,
infantry.
yeah.
So then when the cavalry would go, the tanks would not move
I
because
I haven't
yeah.
seen the data for that. Maybe that's hidden, like the order. That would be nice to change the order.
I've not seen anybody change the order, so I don't know what that entails.
So zone is used by move to, patrol, and random control. Interesting. Oh wow! So let's say you're attacker, you can change the zone that it moves. No, it's move to. You'd have to change it move to. I don't know what move to means. They'll attack though. But this is kind of interesting. Like reserves, it probably makes sense that they should be set to move to, and then you pick the zone that they move to. They got
Hmm.
orders, and they have to go to that
I think
area.
this is how. I think this may be how Maguba changed the AI behavior with his planes, because I try to set up traps for his planes all the time, and they don't take them near as often
Mm-hmm.
as I do the computer's planes. Sometimes they randomly will move across the map, and they must have it set up that on this turn, if this air unit is still around, it moves to this area of the map.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I can't figure it out.
You can affect transport, by the way. Also, you can add heroes. You just have to find the right image
Right.
file. Not that we necessarily need that. One other thing I want to point out is I think we should make the default movement for Toad anti-aircraft and Toad anti-tank 2, and for the 88. So that way you're not fishing for that hero, and it makes the units much more usable. Like I think the average player would use those units more if the movement was 2.
Yeah, but
And I don't think it makes
I
the
don't
unit
know.
overpowered. I think it makes the unit exactly as powerful as it needs to be.
But when it can move as much as infantry, I mean,
Yeah,
maybe the 37,
that would
the
be too
pack,
much.
the 5 centimeter pack doesn't make sense. The 88 doesn't make sense that it can move as fast as
Well,
infantry.
that's why I'm saying just movement +1 in the default. Like just you can change in the equipment file the movement to just add 1.
Mhm.
And I think that fixes. Imagine you might actually use Toad anti-aircraft if it has movement +1.
I use Toad anti-aircraft.
But like that early stuff, potentially, anti-tank for sure you would use more of. So that was something I wanted to point out. The other thing I didn't.
I did like the fact that Maguba made almost all of his anti-aircraft, anti-tank capable.
Oh yeah.
Even the mobile units.
By the way, I haven't really looked at this, but you can edit triggers. You can add a time condition of
Mm-hmm.
when a unit's active. I think you can add a map condition. You
Mm-hmm.
can add a tag. You can add a random condition. I don't know how that works, but like, I think
I've
this.
seen the random conditions. I've seen the random conditions in 1939 and the big 1939 and big 1941 maps
Okay.
that I've played with, so that certain heroes randomly will come up, spring up. You have a certain percentage chance of this random hero showing up, and it's great when it does, poopy when it doesn't.
But imagine if we did this with the AI. Like,
Right,
imagine you had,
right.
um, I don't know, maybe you just have a small division that you know is coming to the battlefield, but depending on the conditions on the battlefield, that dictates where they go on the battlefield. And like the AI doesn't even know what it's doing with those units. That would be scary, I think. Like,
Yeah.
I just pointed this out to people if they don't know about this. I haven't even looked at all of this stuff. Um, but the other thing I was
There is
thinking,
so much that went into the making of this game, and they've done their best to make it accessible to people to figure out, so that they can make the game their own. That's why this game is, in my opinion, the best game I've ever played in my life. I'm not interested in modding the game myself, but the fact that they allow this to happen and people have taken that and created so many outstanding. I mean, this game is never ending for me now. I don't see myself being interested in playing any other game. Maybe, but I don't know.
it is interesting. But I was thinking like, what would be a good challenge because, ultimate mode, maybe ultimate mode's not hard enough, but it's also too hard. So I was thinking, get rid of capture units, get rid of SP units, get rid of hero units, change the core slots. I think you have to change the core slots. You'd have to change how prestige is accumulated a little bit, uh, just because there's be some differences there. Oh, there's other stuff I haven't shown you. Okay.
I want to stop. I want to step away from doing ultimate mode after I'm done because I really want to step away from the save scumming I've been doing. It's just driving me nuts. It's not how the game is meant to be played.
Well, ultimate mode is like a meme, right? So, there's game rules. I don't know if you've ever looked at these files. So, one interesting thing, I wonder how much it would change the game, is you can have zone of control on air units. Now, I think it's 0 because it doesn't make any sense, but as a mechanic, that might be very interesting. Where a plane tries to fly somewhere but can't just wrap around you. So you can change that to a 1.
Okay.
Like, that's kind of cool, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't fully understand.
That means you could trap the air units.
That's right. I mean, I'm just saying, like, look at the stuff that you could do. This I don't know about. This parameter specifies if move and attack must be used together or can be used independently.
You can trap air units.
I bet that on the equipment, on Deductor's equipment file, did he make that change on the Cratchitson?
Yeah, he did make it recon, I thought. But you can trap, even with zone of control 0, you can trap an air unit if you surround it and it's sunny or cloudy. If you have if the air unit completely surrounded by air units itself, then it won't have anywhere to fly.
Not the game rules. Where did the game rules go? I have so many Excel files open. I can close this. I don't need that anymore.
I'm gonna have to get going here.
But yeah, also, I wanted to show this. You can change the soft cap. So, oh yeah, this is the file. So you can change how much prestige you get from surrenderable units, and you can change entrenchment bonus and so on, and bonus in close defense. Soft cap. So you can change. I would also change this to 0, so there's no minimum, and then I would change this so that it would be slower to hit the top, but then after you hit the top, your soft cap would fall more quickly. But we can change this to make it more interesting as well. And you can change heroes.
What's max prestige? What does that mean, max prestige?
That's a part of their formula that's quadratic. That is a restriction on what percentage of soft cap are you using. You have to go watch Soren's video. He goes into detail about it. It's the very first video on his Rommel playthrough. This is minimum. This is your minimum floor, but I would change that to 0 to make it harder for people. And you get prestige for surrenders. You can change this. So, like, there's these parameters. What else is there? You can change, I think this is the prestige and experience as specified in percent. You could change these values if you wanted
to. Yeah.
That's something you could change. Okay, and then awards. Okay, that's.
Just stay here for a quick sec. No, take that away. Okay, so you see it says IDS difficulty ultimate. Is there some way to get the button to pop up?
Don't you have to like beat it on everything, like Guderian, Rommel, Manstein, Field Marshal?
Well, I believe that Bracata and Lieutenant Joker have both done that. I know Bracata did it on his channel, but I never saw him start the game.
Oh, I don't know.
Come again? He did it, yeah, in the vanilla campaign.
I'm not sure. This doesn't have
He
images.
he
This is
did
just
all
a
three on the vanilla
picture.
campaign. But that's the only way you open Guderian, Manstein, and Rommel to begin with is you have to play like the vanilla campaign, the Soviet Corps. You have to play one of the core campaigns, not just 1939 to open it.
That okay. I guess I don't know. I don't know why Ultimate doesn't show up for them. But yeah, you could change this. Let's see. What's that get? Awards. Let me pull this over. So there's things you could do to change. Oh, this is by country. Oh, that's for the base campaign, but in alt and the grand campaign it'll be different. But you can change how many kills
Mhm.
to. I think we should do that based. We should probably. I wish that you could change the number of kills needed by unit type. That would be really helpful. But if you think 2000 is too little or too much, you can make an adjustment. This is for the base campaign.
Mhm.
And then, did I have anything? Unit class? Oh, this I don't know what it's for exactly. This has the unit classes. Use to reference it throughout the game. So if you're going to add a new entry, you have to add it at the end. So apparently riverboats were the last unit class added. This must affect the equipment file somehow. I don't quite understand what the point of this is. I'm not a game developer. But there's all these files. The only thing you don't see, I don't see the order of attack anywhere in the data or AI behavior.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like I don't
Okay, I gotta
yeah.
go.
All right. I'm just interested
Okay.
for people's thoughts on this.
Okay, I would again post it on the forum, and I'll post this up probably Monday or Tuesday this coming week.